Fallout Season 2's finally putting a name and face on one of the biggest power players connected to New Vegas, and his story's wild and full of nukes. So let's break down the story of Mr. House. If you haven't played Fallout, New Vegas, this guy isn't some random wasteland warlord like we've seen elsewhere. He's the main man, the guy who controls the New Vegas Strip, someone whose backstory reaches back before the nuclear apocalypse, and someone who spent his whole life preparing for one specific outcome: the world ending in atomic fire, and Las Vegas making it through with him at the top. Mr. House's real name is Robert Edwin House, born in Las Vegas, Nevada, on June 25, 2020. His childhood gets dark almost immediately when his parents die in a bizarre accident involving an autogyro and a lightning strike when he's only 2 years old. Crazy event, but at least it wasn't Rona. To make things worse, his half-brother Anthony House swoops in and takes what should have been Robert's inheritance, claiming he's the only legitimate son, taking the family business for himself. Robert doesn't just give up or fade away after this heartbreak. He goes to the Commonwealth Institute of Technology, buries himself in tech and business studies, and at 22 years old in 2042, he launches Robco Industries. Robco explodes under House's direction and becomes one of the most profitable companies in human history, specializing in robotics and software. House becomes absurdly wealthy, possibly the richest person in America, or even globally, and he starts pouring money into other ventures and businesses. He's connected to some of the most recognizable technology in the Fallout universe, including the Pip-Boy that Lucy wears on her wrist in the Prime Video series. The Pip-Boy came from a partnership between Robco and Vault-Tec and left a huge impact. House also has ties to the Lucky 38, the legendary casino that eventually becomes his command center on the Strip. Even before everything goes nuclear, he's already building the infrastructure for what will become New Vegas, buying up influence, property, and positioning himself for the future. Then comes the moment that defines everything about who he is. House runs complex mathematical models based on worldwide political and economic data to figure out what's coming next. Around 2065, his calculations lead him to a horrifying answer. Nuclear war will consume the planet within the next 15 years, somewhere around 2080. That prediction gets reinforced when he attends a secret meeting with other powerful corporate executives, which is a scene we saw in Season 1 of the show. At this gathering, the leaders of Vault-Tec discuss their huge endgame, which involves deliberately triggering the nuclear bombs themselves as part of a twisted business strategy where profit and control come through disaster and Vault dependency. In the original storyline, House pushes back very strongly against their Vault concept, arguing that cramming people into confined underground spaces for extended periods will drive them insane. He thinks Vault dwellers might not survive any longer than surface survivors, especially considering the implied experiments happening inside those bunkers. Whatever you think about his reasoning in that boardroom, the result is clear. House walks out convinced the bombs are inevitable, just like his calculations predicted, and he commits all of his time and resources to creating countermeasures, survival strategies, and maintaining control over his power. He builds pre-war defense systems specifically designed to shoot down nuclear missiles targeting Las Vegas. When the Great War kicks off in 2077, most cities get obliterated and wiped off the map, or at the very least, heavily damaged. Las Vegas is different though, and it's all because of these preparations. The city never got decimated by the bombs thanks to House's countermeasures, which managed to intercept most of the incoming warheads. But his entire plan has one critical weak point, and this is where the timeline gets brutal. On October 22nd, 2077, just one day before the Great War starts, House has something called the Platinum Chip manufactured. This chip contains essential software upgrades for his Securitron army, a series of security robots, and his laser defense grid. Without it, his systems would be easily compromised. The chip is supposed to arrive on the afternoon of October 23, 2077, but House miscalculates by roughly 20 hours, which ends up being the one error in his math that ruins everything. The Great War begins before the delivery can happen, and the Platinum Chip vanishes into the chaos of the wasteland for about 2 centuries. He survived for those 200 years by keeping his heavily enhanced body sealed in a life support chamber inside the Lucky 38, with his brain wired into a massive supercomputer network that kept him alive while he waited for the Platinum Chip to return. House's defenses still knock down most of the nukes, but the outdated software causes system crashes and failures, including his life support equipment. The end result of this is that House slips into a coma, Even that doesn't kill him though. House's personal survival setup is absolutely insane. He puts his heavily modified body into a life support chamber and connects his brain directly to his information systems through a massive supercomputer. He remains in that state, conscious but dormant, while the world outside turns into a radioactive nightmare. He finally wakes from the coma in 2138, but he doesn't immediately reveal himself. He stays hidden inside the Lucky 38, monitoring the wasteland and waiting for the perfect moment to make his move. That moment comes in 2274, when his Securitrons roll out from the Lucky 38 and start enforcing order. The arrival of New California Republic scouts near Hoover Dam helps him pick his timing, and House seizes the opportunity. He cuts deals with 3 raider groups, who transform into the 3 families of the Strip: the Chairmen, the Omertas, and the White Glove Society. Using them as his foundation, he reconstructs New Vegas, creates a free economic zone, and installs himself as president, CEO, and sole owner of the New Vegas Strip. His arrangement with the NCR isn't about friendship or shared values, it's pure strategy. He allows the NCR to use McCarran International Airport as their base and signs the New Vegas Treaty, which protects the Strip from being annexed while letting him benefit from NCR resources and military presence. Meanwhile, the Mojave region is a powder keg, with escalating violence between the NCR and Caesar's Legion. House views that conflict as both a danger and a chance to gain advantage, since war burns through resources, reshapes territories, and forces people into desperate choices. He looks at both factions with contempt, calling them failed attempts to resurrect dead civilizations. He sees the NCR as an empire of consumers run by manipulative politicians who want to steal Vegas from him. Caesar's Legion makes him sick, especially their slavery, their violence, and their hatred of technology. House's entire philosophy centers on the belief that the wasteland needs something genuinely new, built on technological advancement, research investment, and economic strategy, not recycled nations and failed empires. He also claims his authoritarian control doesn't extend into people's private lives, framing his rule as the necessary leadership of a tech genius and economic visionary rather than some personality cult. But even with New Vegas thriving under his control, House remains fixated on one missing element: the platinum chip. He spends years and ridiculous amounts of money hunting for it, because his security infrastructure remains incomplete without that operating system update. When the chip finally resurfaces in 2281, House doesn't leave anything to chance. He organizes a complex delivery operation using multiple couriers, with only one carrying the actual chip, while the others transport decoy packages designed to confuse anyone trying to intercept it. The real carrier is Courier 6, but history repeats itself in the worst possible way. The chip gets stolen, and Courier 6 takes a bullet to the head from Benny, the leader of the Chairmen, after Benny discovers the chip's significance and delivery route through Yes Man, a hacked Securitron that gives him backdoor access to House's network. Benny's plan is straightforward: grab the chip, take control of the Strip, and transform New Vegas into an independent state free from House's grip. House learns what went down through a Securitron spy called Victor, and once he realizes Courier 6 survived the execution attempt, he decides to weaponize the Courier's desire for revenge. That captures the essence of who House is in the games. He's never just responding to events. He's constantly working to convert chaos into something predictable and controllable, and he's always positioning other people as tools in his larger schemes. Now, let's talk about Season 2 of the show, because it's clearly planning to bring that same calculated energy into live action. Mr. House is joining the story as the series moves toward New Vegas, and the information we have so far presents him as a major antagonist of sorts. The Ghoul connects House directly to the apocalypse in the Season 2 trailer, saying, "You want to know why the world ended? It started here, with one man." The suggestion here is that House isn't just a future ruler of the Strip, but deeply involved in the pre-war power structure that shaped the nuclear apocalypse. Season 1 already showed House and Robco present at the meeting, where Vault-Tec pitched their plan to seize total power through nuclear war. That makes House more than some distant wasteland legend. It makes him part of the executive-level discussions about how civilization burns and who benefits from the ashes. The trailer also features House positioning himself as someone who sees everything coming before anyone else does. He has this monologue directed at Cooper Howard, calling him out and presenting the future as something unstoppable, saying, Cooper Howard, star of the silver screen, like yourself, I am the very best at what I do. And what I do is I know everything. I know there is a war coming. The bombs will only be the beginning. My concern is that you would do just about anything to save your family. I think you are actually quite a violent man. You just don't want to kill me. Yet. That conversation matters hugely because it places House in Cooper Howard's pre-war life, not just in the distant post-war New Vegas timeline. It positions House as a crucial connection to the show's deepest mysteries, particularly anything involving Vault-Tec, the Great War, and the corporate decisions that led to global annihilation. The promotional materials we've seen show that House will have direct ties to Cooper Howard's past in the 21st century, and that relationship seems linked to Cooper's wife Barb, who is apparently at the top level of Vault-Tec's power structure alongside House. The showrunners have mentioned that Cooper Howard will be investigating his wife's role in the conspiracy to trigger nuclear war, and that this investigation leads him to revelations with massive consequences for the wasteland. House fits perfectly into that narrative thread because he represents both the corporate world and cold calculation, both the pre-war era and post-war survival, and he has the kind of reach that can bridge boardroom conspiracy and wasteland reality. The obvious question is whether House is even alive in the show's present-day timeline. Fallout Season 2 takes place in 2296, which is 14 to 15 years after the events of Fallout New Vegas, and it's currently unclear if House survived into that era. In the game, House's fate changes based on player choices. He can secure total control of New Vegas with the Platinum Chip and drive back the NCR and Caesar's Legion, or he can be disconnected from his systems and killed outright. The series is deliberately avoiding confirming any single-player ending as canon, using what they call a fog of war approach to keep New Vegas outcomes ambiguous. That means the show can use the character without declaring one game route as the definitive truth. It also means House can appear in different forms. He can show up in the pre-war flashbacks through Cooper Howard's storyline, and he could potentially appear in the present day through whatever technology kept him alive for centuries in the game. That's what makes him such a dangerous element for Season 2. House is described as a scheming, strategic ruler with complete mastery of technology, and in a wasteland where everything is collapsing, that kind of capability translates to power on a completely different scale. He's also positioned as a likely primary antagonist, working alongside Hank McLean. At the same time, he's one of the franchise's most compelling characters, and the creative team has discussed their excitement about creating an original story while incorporating treasures from the games, with House specifically named as one of those core elements they'll take extra care with. That's the balance Season 2 is trying to strike, and it's one that can hold a lot of interesting plot points. It's heading to New Vegas, using one of New Vegas's most iconic figures, and still leaving space for the show to develop its own narrative without being locked into one fixed game ending. Even the casting decisions signal that Mr. House is being elevated to a central role. Justin Theroux is playing Mr. House in Season 2, and the character's been recast since Rafi Silver played him in Season 1. The new choice has a lot more gravity, fitting the game's legendary character. The effort they've put into getting the character right showcases that he's not only going to play a major role in the new season, but may end up being the sole character capable of reshaping everything we think we know about the show's story. In the game, House's strategy revolves around surviving the apocalypse, rebuilding Vegas into a controlled economic powerhouse, and using the Platinum Chip to upgrade his defenses and secure long-term dominance. In the show, the trailer and Season 1 setup present him as someone who isn't just connected to what happens after the bombs drop, but connected to the power plays and decisions before the bombs fall. He's the type of character who can exist at the intersection of Vault-Tec's ambitions, corporate conspiracy, and the Wasteland's future, all while claiming he knows everything, warning that the bombs are just the start, and treating people like Cooper Howard as variables to be analyzed, manipulated, and eventually exploited. We'll just have to wait and see exactly how Cooper's going to deal with House's inevitable proposals. With Season 2 moving toward New Vegas, House isn't just background decoration or a beat in the plot. He's the entire reason the city becomes what it is in the present day. He's the sole architect behind the defenses that protected it from complete annihilation. He's the mastermind of the Strip's power hierarchy. He's the man who rebuilt the city using the three families, negotiated with the NCR through treaties, and kept the Mojave's biggest factions at a distance while planning for a future only he believes can work. And now, In the live-action version, he's also being framed as someone tied to the apocalypse itself, with the ghoul identifying him as where it all started, and House presenting himself as someone who saw everything coming and positioned himself to win regardless of the outcome. So that's the long, complex, and explosive story of Mr. House. Whatever role he takes on in the coming episodes, there's no doubt he'll make a huge impact on fans if he's handled well. Are you hyped to see him on screen in more detail than Season 1's cameo? Do you think his legacy will end in peace or flames? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to see more Fallout content, click the video on screen now.